Hello and welcome. I'm Will Faulkner from Fox Cricket, and today I'm joined by one of our best across the Fox Cricket media team, and Isa Guha. Each played 113 international matches for England across a dozen-year career. Welcome, Isha.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the intro.
No, no, all good. First, first things first, we'll touch on the Australia-India series. It's been a gripping one so far. For you, in your opinion, where does the series sit now? Is it as even as the scoreline suggests at 1-1, or do you think it cuts a little bit deeper, having seen two tests now?
I think it's nicely poised. I think it's got all the ingredients of being an epic test series, as we've seen from Australia and India in the past. I felt like Australia weren't really at the races in the first test. They were absolutely back to their best, and the sign of a great team is one that can respond well under pressure, and they absolutely did that. For India, I don't think that they're going to be too concerned about what happened in Adelaide. It was a pink ball test. There's still a lot of experience in that batting lineup. I think they'll enjoy going to the Gabba and playing in those conditions. The only concern they might have is around Jasprit Bumrah's fitness and what that does to the bowling attack if he isn't fit or if he can't bowl his full quota. Um, so that's where I think the main challenges lie for India going into this next test match, and the fact that Australia are pretty much back on song. I think there's steps that have been taken with the batting unit. Obviously, Travis Head was outstanding. Marnus Labuschagne taking a step back to getting back to where he wants to be. But there's still some questions around some of the other batters that I think, there's still plenty of time left in this series for them to make their mark.
100%. You're speaking about India's bowling attack. Obviously, Bumrah's been their spearhead for a long time now. Australia's almost got the opposite problem. They've got Josh Hazlewood coming back to reportedly almost full fitness. Scott Boland's done not a whole lot wrong. If Hazlewood is as fit as reports suggest, do you think it's a simple swap between Boland and Hazlewood? Does he come straight back in?
I think he does. He's just got all that experience, those wickets behind him, the versatility of being able to bowl with the new ball, the slightly older ball, and he can bowl the short stuff as well if required. So if he's fully fit, he probably does come straight back in. That's not to say Scott Boland isn't a great bowler, and he fulfills a role for Australia when he does come in. But I think they'll just look at that. And say he's an amazing person to come in if someone's injured. And yeah, I think they'll want to get back to that four-man attack if Hazlewood is fit. And of course, let's not forget Nathan Lyon barely bowled any overs in the last Test match, so he can be the workhorse if required for Australia if the quick bowlers are getting fatigued.
Another one who was somewhat exposed in Adelaide was Rohit Sharma coming in for his first match after the birth of his second child. Do you see him needing to move straight back to the top of the order, or do you think that's a little bit too reactionary? See how he goes again in the third test in the middle.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much useful in any position. I think not to upset the kind of apple cart and the fact that they seem to be wanting to go with KL Rahul, maybe looking at the future as well. He might stick in the middle. I think he'll enjoy going back to the red ball, and I think the Gabba conditions suit his game as well. So I don't think, a man of such experience, yes, he is under pressure, but I don't think it will phase him too much. He was coming in for his first Test match, and the challenge of having to bat under lights with the pink ball. It's something that he probably hasn't had to do too much in recent times. So I think, with pressure, as I mentioned, with great teams, it's the great players that stand up. And I think not just him, Virat Kohli probably left a few runs out there in Adelaide that he'll be frustrated about. And so look out for him this week as well.
100%. It's going to be set up for a ripping game on Saturday. We'll jump across the ditch to your mob, Isha. England, they've already wrapped up an unassailable lead against New Zealand. Their cricket they've played the last two tests have been nothing short of exceptional. Is this them setting the tone for next year's Ashes? Is this what we should be expecting from them in the long term now?
I think they've been setting the tone for next year's Ashes for the last 3 years, really, with their approach to the game. I think New Zealand kind of suits them as in the way they play their game. It's very similar to English conditions, but yeah, it definitely whets the appetite for the Ashes next year. I cannot wait for that showdown. I think the last two Ashes tours have been a bit disappointing coming over here. I think the England team have perhaps seen a few chinks there from an Australian point of view. So it's really about kind of learning from what they did wrong in those last two Ashes tours. And I think for the last 2 or 3 years since Brendan McCullum, Ben Stokes, and Rob Key have got together, it's really been about how do we have a battery of fast bowlers when we go to Australia next year, and batters who can really be aggressive under pressure. So that's definitely building nicely for this squad and this team. And yeah, I think it's all building up to be one of the all-time great series.
Speaking of England teams building up very nicely for an Ashes series, we've got the Women's Ashes that starts next month here in Australia. Do you think this is their best shot at winning, on Australian soil or in Ashes in general? Since I think 2013-14 was the last time they took out an Ashes series, or is the home ground advantage that Australia hold, is that going to be too great? Do you see?
I think home ground advantage from Australia is always crucial. I think England haven't been too far away when it comes to Ashes series. It's been those critical moments that they haven't been able to be ruthless enough in, and I think that's what they're going to have to look at when it comes to playing well in the Women's Ashes. They're going to have to start well as well. There's a real nice blend of experience and youth in that team, but Australia are a well-oiled unit. They've got some wonderful players, and they're showing that the players that come in can also dominate with the likes of Georgia Vole. So another cracker of the series to come. But as I mentioned, I think the past two tours that England have had here, they haven't necessarily started as well as they would have liked, and it's been down to those kind of crucial moments in games where they've had their foot on the throat and they haven't been able to capitalize on those moments. And I think that's what they're going to need when it comes to this series.
100%. Looking back at the last series in England last year, Sophie Ecclestone and Ash Gardner were two people that played a pretty big role for each side with their spin. Are they, again, like arguably the most important asset for each team, or is it run to the golden key across the summer?
Yeah, I think two quality spinners. Sophie Ecclestone is one of the best spinners in the world, but against Australia, she probably doesn't have the record that she would like. Australia have always looked to attack her, and I think in particular Beth Mooney, when she gets after Sophie Ecclestone, that can be quite tricky. So she's a player of plenty of experience. I think she knows that she's a vital cog for this England team, and if she performs well, then absolutely England have the opportunity of taking it to Australia. It's a bit like what we're seeing in the men's series. Travis Head really took down Ashwin, and when you're taking down the spinner, it means that you have to go to other options, creates a few headaches for the skipper, because someone like Sophie Ecclestone is a real banker for Heather Knight. So same with Ash Gardner. I mean, she's such a quality player. In the Test match, she was outstanding at Trent Bridge, not just with the bat, but with the ball in that last innings. So yeah, I think two quality players going head to head, but I think there's elements all the way down that order. You have to start well. You have to build those big partnerships. You have to have wicket takers and people who can turn a game on its head. So I think both teams have that, and that's why it makes it a really interesting series.
Do you have an early tip? Are you backing in your mob England or Australia? Good.
Do you even need to ask that question?
It was worth a shot. I'll take that as England. And then last question, Big Bash, that starts very, very soon. The likes of Ollie Pope, Ben Duckett, Sam Billings, they're all back for this rendition of the Big Bash. But I think the big talk of the town, at least from what I've heard anyway, Jacob Bethel, he's had a great start to his Test career. How have you seen his international career today, and how do you see him going in the Big Bash? A little bit different, the conditions in Australia to New Zealand, but he's obviously had a great start to his career.
He really has, and I think when people get talked about, there's always a spotlight and a focus on them when they go to play in different countries. And he just seems like someone who loves it. He loves the pressure. He loves to thrive under the spotlight. He's really built his game to try and be on the attack and look to be positive. He's fearless, like we see through with so many of these young players coming through. And so that's why I think he's a really good recruitment for the Renegades. Along with Jake Fraser-McGurk, they've picked up Laurie Evans as well, who's a great middle order player in franchise cricket. So I think actually they've done really well, the Renegades, in terms of how their squad is looking. And yeah, I can't wait to see how he goes. He seems like someone that people want to do well as well. So that's why I think he'll have a good run.
No, definitely. Thank you for that, Isha. That's all we've got time for today. It was great to have a chat, and we can't wait to hear you get back behind the mic for the rest of the summer across the Big Bash, the Women's Ashes, and everything, all cricket. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.